Welcome to the show. Welcome to Sound and Color. I'm very happy to have you. As I just said, very big fan of yours. And we're talking to you about who Jay Washington is. So, Mr. Jay Washington, can you please let the public know who you are, what it is that you do in life?
All right. So I'll give you I'll tell you the normal thing I tell people typically. I'm an average black dude that just hangs around. I swear to God, that's what I tell people.
Okay.
But people are like, what do you do? I'm an average black dude that just hangs around. But in all actuality, I'm a stand-up comedian, actor. I've been in several films, Spike Lee joint Chirac, Film This Out, Imperfections, Landline, been on a couple TV shows, Hollywood Darlings, a couple others. Stand-up comedian, actor, former professional wrestler for 15 years, podcast host of the Trusty Sidekick podcast, internet personality seen on Screen Junkies, Collider Video, AfterBuzz TV, Hyper RPG, and many more. Father, black dude that kicks it, and just all around cool dude.
That's a lot. And I'm very that's a whole lot, but that's all awesome. And you mentioned you being an internet personality. That's where I actually got hip to you first. I think the first time I saw you was I saw you on an episode of Movie Fights, and then shortly afterwards, I think I saw you popping up on Collider and on the Schmodown and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the Schmodown. I've been a fan of the Schmo since high school, and I've been a fan. I follow AMC and Collider for a long time. I want to know because you mentioned how you are now a stand-up comedian, how you were formerly a wrestler. Can you tell me how you went from doing wrestling and then transitioned into stand-up comedy, and now you're like this amazing internet personality?
So this is what happened. So like I said, I've been a wrestler. I was a pro wrestler for 15 years. At the time, I had been 9 years in wrestling and traveling the country, doing a lot of shows, having a lot of fun. And I used to work for my regular job. I used to work for a chiropractic company as a medical insurance biller. And so we got free chiropractic services. And so one day I went in and got my neck x-rayed, and my chiropractor was like, you need to look at this. Your vertebrae are going straight up and down. Your neck is supposed to bend like a backward C. I don't know what you're doing, but you're going to have to stop. So she was like, you can either stop, or I'm going to show you some exercises you can do to get the curve back in your neck. So I'd always, at the time, Facebook had just started recently, and I would always be on Facebook just cracking random jokes on there. And I always just crack jokes in person. And I would crack jokes in wrestling rings, do wrestling promos and everything, but nobody ever thought I was going to be a stand-up. And one day on Facebook, there was a girl who had an entertainment company. She was like, hey, you're really funny. You ever thought about doing stand-up? I was like, kind of. I'm not really sure. She was like, well, let's meet up and let's figure it out. So we met up, and then she was like, well, why don't you go to this open mic? All you got to do is have 5 minutes worth of jokes. I was like, 5 minutes is easy. So I wrote my first 5-minute set, went to an open mic in Chicago, where I'm from, the Checkerboard Lounge in Hyde Park, had my first set, and I destroyed. It was great. It was amazing. I was like, I'm good. I got this. I went back the next week, wrote another 5 minutes worth of jokes, and I bombed horribly. I was like, yo, what happened? So I bombed. But then after a while, I started getting better with stand-up, and I still was wrestling at the same time, too. So then I had to start, eventually stand-up picked up, and wrestling started slowly falling off. As stand-up picked up, I met a guy who introduced me to his agent. When I met his agent, he was like, all right, I'm going to send you on auditions. I didn't care about auditions, so I would go and I would do them until I finally started getting callbacks. And I was like, oh, wait, they want to see me again? Bet. So I go back in. Then when I finally booked my first commercial, I booked a commercial where they flew me to New York. Like, they flew me on a Friday. They had a car pick me up at 6 in the morning, take me to the airport, fly me to New York just for a fitting, fed me lunch, put me back in the car, sent me back to the airport, flew me back to Chicago just to fly me back out Monday morning for the actual shoot. And I was like, yo, I can do this. So fast forward, I end up getting the role in Spike Lee's Chirac. I decide to move out here to Los Angeles. And, again, I'm doing stand-up, and I'm auditioning and everything. But in the process of doing stand-up, I'm at an open mic, and one night I'm at an open mic, and there's a group of people who are celebrating somebody's birthday, and it's just really popping. Everybody's just having a ball. I didn't know really what was going on. Mm-hmm. And one of my buddies was like, yo, those are the Screen Junkies people. And I was like, who? He was like, those are the Screen Junkies people. I was like, I don't know. So I did some Googling research while I was up there, right before I went up, because every comedian before me was going up because they were all kicking it. They buying the bar out. They partying. So they're more important than any comic in an open mic. I know this because I've been in the game already. So I go up, and I literally tell them, everybody's talking trash about y'all. I'm going to talk trash with y'all. So what y'all doing? Y'all partying? Who birthday? Blah, blah, blah. I said, by the way, I did some research before I came up here. Y'all need more black people on the team. and that's literally when one of the guys was like, you're right, I want to hire you. So that's how I met Andy Signore. And then, him and I followed each other. He hit me up, was like, yo, have you ever seen movie fights? I'd actually watched it before. I was like, yeah. He was like, you think you can do it? I was like, I know I can. So cool. I go on movie fights for the first time. I lose my first fight, but everybody loves me. They keep bringing me back. Then one day I get an email, hey, you should come check out the movie Trivia Schmodown. I was like, cool. I go down there. I watch the game and everything. Then I talk to Christian Harloff. Christian said, do you think you can do this? I said, yeah, I can do it. So then I go down to the Schmodown to have my very first match against Mark Andreyko. Mm-hmm. Now, I knew Andreyko through Screen Junkies News. He'd come on there a lot. We've seen each other back and forth. I had to cut my first promo. Christian didn't know a lot about me. So Christian was like, can you cut a promo? I'm like, I think I'll be okay.
Oh. And you hit him with the 1-2, and you surprised him a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, I think I'll be okay. So I was like, just tell me what you need me to talk about. He was like, well, I just need you to say this and say that, and if you can do that, that'll be fine. So I cut the promo, and Christian was like, whoa, where'd that come from? I was like, yo, I was a pro wrestler for 15 years. And so he was like, oh, my God. So then I had my match with Andreyko. I lost my match with Andreyko, but Christian wanted me to keep coming back. And so then from doing Collider, doors opened up to AfterBuzz TV because of my wrestling background. I got a chance to jump on the Raw After Show and a couple other things on AfterBuzz. Then Hyper RPG, because I know the guys and girls through the different entities. I got to be over there. So that's how it's just been opening up. It's just been a widespread magnet, and it's been so dope.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, this is like what Jay just told us this is stuff that's happened like in a number of like the past couple of years, like probably the past 4 or 5 maybe.
No. For all internet stuff, a year.
A year. So this is even less. this is even less time than most. Like you've been getting around in a matter of a year.
Of a year, yeah. It's been a blessing. I tell everybody it's been fun to have all these different internet networks who are like, yo, we want you to come on here. We want to introduce our fans to you. We want you to have fun with us. And I'm like, yo, I'll do it. Just let me know when and where, and I'm going. And so that has been like the best part about it all, just being able to just jump around and go here, go there, and just be on different networks and meet some of the fans. They cross over, but then there's a new batch of fans every time, man. It's been surreal, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I actually last night I saw one of your tweets last night, or it might have been a couple of days ago. I don't know, about you working really hard, like saying that yes, you got to get up and you're only gonna run on like a couple of hours of sleep.
That was yesterday. Like that was yesterday.
Yeah. Like and now knowing that this has really only been a year with all of this newer stuff happening for you, like how does that set you up trajectory wise? Like what are you thinking long term, like coming down the next 5 years, because since now we know that it's happening kind of so quickly, what do you think kind of the next like is there longevity with this? Do you think that you're going to end up changing and doing something else? Did this kind of change your path in terms of doing stand-up or anything like that?
No, actually, that's a great question. Actually, I don't think it's going to change the trajectory. I think it's going to just elevate it more. With stand-up, it's actually been great for stand-up because it allows me to accrue the fan base. It allows me to meet people who want to see me perform on stage. And I've done shows in places now where people come up to me after the show like, yo, I'm a fan of you from the Schmodown. I'm a fan of you from here and there. And so now the internet community that's embraced me has come out and become stand-up fans. And I've even had some of my old wrestling fans become stand-up fans. And the thing is now I see it taking me to where I'm hosting a show on a big network. I'm doing a sit-down show where it's a big network for maybe any of the networks that will allow me to be there. Also, my goal has still been to be on a sitcom, to be a main character in a sitcom. I want to continue doing film as I've been doing. So I want to, and also continue traveling the road and traveling the country doing stand-up, eventually traveling the world with it. So it's not changing the path. Like I said, this has done nothing more but just boost me up in such an amazing way that I couldn't imagine this quick. Like I said, I couldn't imagine this quick. I thought it might, man, it wouldn't happen like this, because I've seen people do it for years to where they've amassed this following, and my following has grown immensely so quickly, and it's been phenomenal.
That's fantastic. And now knowing that this stuff has happened so quick for you, I think I might even admire you even more now. But Before I kick it to our little musical break, I want to ask you. I saw the Schmodown match yesterday. With Stacey Howard, and you at the end of the match, I won't spoil it for anybody, but at the end of the match, you kicked it in the full heel. How do you come up with this? I mean, because I know you just mentioned that your pro wrestling background, but like specifically for the Schmodown, like how did you end up coming up with this persona with the people that you work with? You are kind of like the mouthpiece for the Misfits, which is one of the factions in the Schmodown, which I think everybody, all our listeners should be watching if you aren't. But like, how did you end up coming up with your personality specifically for the Schmodown?
Well, it was different because I was used to being a heel as a wrestler. I was used to being the bad guy. But me being the bad guy was more primarily what I did in the ring. So to change it up a little bit, it was just now I just had to be able to use the gift of gab that I have, to be able to use my mouthpiece. And so Christian Harloff came to me and he was like, I got an idea. Let me know what you think about it. How would you feel being a mouthpiece for somebody, and being a mouthpiece for Brienne from his movies? And I was like, well, if she's cool with it, I'm game with it. And so I talked to Brienne about it, and Brienne was like, I don't know if I can be a heel, if I can be a bad guy. And so I told Brienne, listen, I understand it's going to be something different and something new. Let me do the talking first. And as you feel comfortable, you can do it. Trust me, I can get you heat with talking. I know how to do this. And she was like, okay, you sure? And she was so uncertain about it. And the very first promo we cut, when I talked and she had her headphones on, she literally didn't hear a word I said. So she didn't know. She never knew until the match aired. So then she saw, she was like, oh, my God. And so she didn't know. But as far as, like, what happened yesterday, it's just me being able to say, all right, this is where Christian will tell us this is where the storyline needs to go. So try to stay in that parameter. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I know how to do it. I know how to go heel, full-on wrestling heel, and just be real reserved and lackadaisical with it. So, like, with what happened yesterday, I knew how to just turn it on and flip it and just go, boom. All of a sudden now he's just super upset and pissed off, And so to be able to be the character is just knowing where I need to go with it, how I need to be with it, and where am I leading with it. And then also it helps that for those who don't know who watch the Schmodown, all of us pretty much are friends, no matter what, whether we're faces, heels, or everything. And so a lot of us have this understanding of if I say this, just know I love you afterwards. Just know we're still cool afterwards. So we do that a lot, and it makes it easier, too, because that was one of the things with wrestling, where if you're friends with somebody, it makes it easier to be another personality on them. We had a rule in wrestling where when you had a match if you have a match with a stranger, you take care of them. You're real careful. You're making sure everything is good. If you're working with one of your friends, you all beat the hell out of each other. Right. It never fails.
Wow. That's great. Listen, we're going to take a quick musical break. Jay, what kind of music are you a fan of? I'm just curious.
If I told you, you wouldn't believe me. I'm extremely eclectic except for country music, with the exception of Luke Bryan's That's My Kind of Night. But other than that, I listen to it all.
Well, I mean, wow. Like, I hear that from a lot of people, so, I mean, I'm not at all surprised.
You hear them say they like Luke Bryan's That's My Kind of Night? Really?
No. Okay. I hear that they like most things other than country. That's probably a phrase that I've heard, I think, probably more often than I've heard most other phrases. So, guys, listen, we're going to be right back. I'm going to throw on some Poetic Justice for you by Kendrick Lamar. We are celebrating that amazing album, 5 years that it's been around. Great album. I'm going to throw it on. We're going to be back with Jay Washington. We're going to talk some more. It's going to be a great show for you guys. You guys keep on listening. You are listening to Sound and Color live on Bearcast Media right now. We are back on with Jay Washington, who has been an amazing guest so far. Very happy to have him on. Sound effect is still not ready. It's still not working. I don't know what's going on.
I think you might have to charge that one to the game.
You know what? I'm just gonna do that. You know what? We're gonna play a game.
Okay.
We are going to this show.
First of all, that's funny you said that because like Jigsaw comes out this Friday, and that's one of my favorite movie series.
Really?
Dude, a lot of people are like, yo, you like that? I'm like, hell yeah, I like graphic, violent stuff. And so when you like, I want to play a game, I was like, let's do this.
Yeah. I am not a super big Saw fan, but that is funny. You know what? It's timely. I didn't plan any Halloween themed things for the show, but I'm glad that we rolled into that thing. So today's game is a little bit of word association. I have the headlines that we are going to be doing for the show. I'm going to throw them at you, and you just give me a word.
Okay.
A word describing how you feel about that headline. All right, so our top story, a live-action Dora the Explorer is being developed by Michael Bay and Nick Stoller.
Cocaine.
Wow.
That was inspired by cocaine. There's no other way you could say that. That's cocaine, and more cocaine.
Do you think we're gonna get like a
There's
Dora
gonna be an
Scarface?
explosion. Swiper is gonna make something blow up.
Is this gonna be like a Scarface Dora movie that we're gonna have?
Look, I want to see Diego come out of nowhere. He got a troubled childhood. He living in the gutter. All of a sudden, it's the PETA or whatever, some animal catcher is after Swiper. I want to see Boots all of a sudden be drunk in the street. Dora trying to get them back together. If you gonna do this, do it right.
Wow, Jasmine, you haven't said anything the whole show. Who do you think Diego should be played by?
Diego, he should be played by the guy that plays the air pilot in Star Wars.
Diego Luna.
Dude, yeah.
You want Diego to play Diego?
I want Diego to play Diego.
Yeah, Diego played by Diego Luna. I can live with that.
Yeah. They probably look like too, you know?
Probably. I think he might be kind of old because they said something about them being teenagers. I don't know. We're gonna go to the next headline. Next story. Lil Jon opens a kindergarten school in Ghana.
Yeah! I'm sorry. That was the only thing I could think of. Do you think I'm so mad that was the first thing popped in my head, but that seems like it's more appropriate.
Do you think he's gonna be like the principal over at that school and is gonna stay in Ghana and like be like do the morning announcements every
Yes, because I want to see Lil Jon go to announcements. Good morning, students. This is your principal, Little John. Just want you all to have a great day, excelling your academics, and skate, just do all that. I just want to hear that, and that would make my life better. I would go to Ghana and enroll in that school to hear that.
You'd go back to kindergarten? You go back like what?
I would go, man, listen, to hear Little John teach the ABCs.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That'd be great. I wonder if he'd whisper them or if he'd yell them. And look,
he would yell them. He would for sure yell them.
Sure. Look who just walked in the room. Jordan Grandy is here. Jordan, hop on the mic. We're gonna have you sit down. Are you there?
I am here.
I'm here.
Jordan's here.
What's up?
Jordan, you walked in on the Jay Washington interview. We're doing
Wow.
We're doing a word association game right now. We're gonna go to the next one. SZA, Tame Impala, and Mark Ronson are doing an album together.
Dopeness.
Are you a fan of SZA?
She's different. She's unique. She's not really different. She said stuff that we've heard. If you've been a fan of music over years, you've heard some of the themes she talks about.
That's very true.
But I like her voice and I like her style, so she's dope.
She is dope. All right, we're gonna go ahead and kick it to one more. Issa Rae is developing a 90s LA drama for HBO.
Cast me.
Cast him. We heard
Cast
it.
me. That's the only thing I can say about that. Cast me.
We're gonna, everybody who's listening right now, tweet at and get on Facebook. Go to Issa Rae and say cast Jay Washington. No matter what the role is, we're just gonna have her cast Jay Washington in this 90s LA.
You know what? I would buy an HBO subscription just to see you on that show.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey,
yeah,
man,
I don't
look,
have an HBO subscription.
Start to GoFundMe. Start to GoFundMe and the Kickstarter now.
Yeah, like cause we're all college kids here. We don't have HBO.
Yeah, man.
I think the most luxurious thing most of us have is Hulu. Like that's it. Like it's
hilarious.
Everybody has Netflix. Like I got Hulu like just because got that student discount with Spotify.
Right.
Gotta find all the discounts where you can. But like I don't think anybody here is watching HBO.
HBO is luxury. It's
why
a
I can't see Game of Thrones. I got to buy everything after the fact. All right, that was our little word association game with Jay Washington. Guys, if you are a first-time listener to Sound and Color, this is a show that is about people of color in entertainment. We focus on a lot of the current events, and we have some discussions that's strictly based around people of color in entertainment. Jay Washington, as he said at the start of the show, what did you say you were? You were a black guy who does stuff?
I'm an average black guy that just hangs around. And but he's also an amazing entertainer. He has been on shows like Movie Fights with Screen Junkies. He has been on Collider Schmodown. He does his own podcast. Tell us the name of that podcast real quick, and what do you do? So the Trusty Sidekick podcast is myself and Bobby Hill, and we're two comedians, but we talk like regular dudes, like it's almost like barbershop talk. But we get everybody caught up on all the going-ons in the Marvel and DC live-action TV show and movie universes. So we watch 9 TV shows a week, plus whatever movie is out Also, if a Netflix show comes out, then we get updated on every amount of information that we have. So it's something nobody else does because nobody else wants to take time to watch all those shows. The fact that I still watch Inhumans just for the listeners is something that hurts my soul, but I do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure I make some more time for your podcast so I can keep up with the Inhumans talk because I haven't watched it. I appreciate you for watching it.
You ain't missing nothing.
I appreciate you for watching it because I can't. I saw the trailers for it. It had no interest for me, and then I saw people tweeting about it, and it made me want to watch it even less. So I'm like, if I'm getting this from somewhere, I'm glad I get the chance to get it from you. I just working all week. It's so hard to like sit down and do a podcast, and at least listen to one like during my everyday. So if I'm gonna do one, like I really have to binge listen to podcasts, which is weird.
Makes sense.
I don't like that I'm in that binge culture, but like I really do, and it's not a fun thing to be a part of. But Jordan, you just walked in. Did you have any questions for Mr. Washington? Because Jasmine's been over here quiet. She hasn't said anything. She said 5 words the entire show so far. Do you have anything?
I had one question, but I don't know if you guys addressed it already. So my question was the transition from wrestling to comedy. Like, that's such an odd transition for me.
We totally addressed that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Oh, man, I'm so sorry.
This is why you need to stop going to class and just come straight to the show.
I can't stop going to class,
We don't need you to come.
I gotta graduate.
We don't need you to go to class. We need you to come to the show. You can do this forever. We don't need you to graduate. No, just kidding, kids. Stay in school, please.
Okay, but one question. So you probably already addressed this too. What is it? What do you mean by when you say you are a black guy just hanging around? Like, how do you get famous or get the popularity that you have by being a black guy hanging around? I wish I could do that.
That's a great question.
Okay, so that's actually a good question. Here's why I say that. I'm born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a South Sider. I was born in the hood. I came up where I didn't have things handed to me. I had to earn everything. Right. Anything I did was never like brown nose, and it was me working hard and getting it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times I'll hang around and meet people, and I'll just have a regular conversation with them. Like, I'll just talk to you like I'm talking to y'all now on the radio show. Granted, it's an interview, but I'll just talk to people.
Right.
And people be like, yo, you seem like a dope dude. You want to come do this and you want to come do that? And I'll be like, yeah, whatever. And I'm never always trying to talk to somebody to reach out and find out something about them or figure out who they are or what they do. So that's why I'm always like, I'm just an average black dude that hangs around. I just happen to be lucky enough to be able to do some dope stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't never try to. I know a lot of people always like, yo, do you know who that person is, or do you know who that person is? You need to go talk to him. I'll be like, I'm good. I'll talk to him if I have to, but I'm not going to just make a conscious effort to run over there and seem super thirsty. I don't need to do that. That's not my personality. I know how to get where I need to be, but I don't have to be like hawking and like, yo, I just want to work for you. No, I don't have to do that ever. Mm-hmm. So that's why I always tell people I'm an average black dude that hangs around, because also that makes you more interested in who I am than when you say, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm a stand-up comedian, actor, host, internet personality, podcast host, father, all this other stuff. What else you need to know? It sounds more interesting to figure out, why did he just say average black dude that hangs around?
Right. No, I totally feel that. So people just thought, hey, man, this guy's cool. I want him on my show because he's cool. This guy's he's cool. He's just hanging around. He has ambition. He's doing what he needs to do, and he has an interesting background. Does that sum it up?
Yeah, absolutely. That absolutely sums it up. That's exactly how it is. I'll talk to people, and when I find out who I'm talking to afterwards, I'm always like, oh, I never expected it.
Right. That's amazing. So, like I was saying earlier, Sound and Color, show about people of color in entertainment. I want to ask you, Jay, because I do this show. I started this show doing it just so that I could, not in a sense maybe necessarily create awareness, but the thing that I tell people now is that it's to liven up your color palette, because a lot of the news and stuff that we're inundated with, while we certainly have had growths and strides specifically in films and television, but just in general, a lot of the stuff that we see in the news, in fashion and movies and music, a majority of what takes over is the majority, which is white faces, at least in America. And we are certainly closing that gap, but there is still certainly strides being made. How do you think you are contributing to making strides and making sure that more black and brown faces are shown and displayed to people who look up to professions in entertainment and want to do things in entertainment?
I'm very glad you asked that question. That's a good one. And here's the thing about it. I make sure every time I'm on an internet channel, because I know how popular and how widespread and what the reach is of the internet nowadays, is that I'm not just being a token or a typical, or I'm not just being some comic relief. I'm making sure that every time I'm on there, on a channel, I'm adding something of substance. I'm making sure everything I say has a point of view. It's a perspective, especially when I was doing Screen Junkies News, when we were talking about different films and breaking them down and, having a perspective of this is why this happens. This is how it affects different people. This is how it affects people of color. And that's how I always want to approach things, because I know we're not a voice that's highly represented. There are a lot of people in color in the internet community which I've gotten to meet and know, and I'm honored to be a part of them in this group. But we aren't the majority. We're still an underwhelming minority. And if it was 50-50, it would be a whole lot better. So when we're on camera, we have to make sure that what we're saying is reaching more than just people of color. We have to make sure that the faces that don't look like us can relate to us and be like, wait a minute, they have that perspective. Why can't I hear more of that? And so I want to make sure every time I'm sitting at a panel, every time I'm in front of a camera, every time I'm behind a microphone for a podcast, my opinion and my perspective is something that's going to reach out to people to say, oh, okay, we need to have more diversity in what we're hearing, because this guy here has a voice. Now, what happens if a woman of color, what is her voice? What is another woman of color, another person of color? Let's keep this thing mixed in. We don't have to eliminate anyone. Just keep the pool diverse and always have these variants of opinions.
And so with that, like kind of how you just said, so do you think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but do you think your blackness brings something different?
Absolutely. Because I've lived and experienced a different life than anyone else, than other races. Only people, let's just be honest, only people of color will be able to directly understand where I'm coming from off jump. But other races and other nationalities will want to know more, because now they're hearing it from that perspective, in which was may have been closed off to them. So, yeah, I definitely think because of who I am as a black man, especially a black man from the south side of Chicago, because that's like a black man from Harlem, or a black man from East St. Louis, Illinois, a black man from Cincinnati, a black man from Miami. Those are all different experiences, different perspectives, and different ways we view the world. And so when we bring those out, it makes people more enlightened to see, oh, I never thought of it this way.
Yeah, and yeah, this is something that I've touched on in the show before, but just talking about how a lot of people ask, like, why, like, a lot of people in other classes that I've had and other conjecture that I've had, it's just like, why is it so important to have these faces? And it's because there are people who need to look and see that there are people who are like them, who are doing things that they want to do.
That's definitely another big thing. There are a lot of people who I didn't know, yourself included. I didn't know there were so many black people, black men, black women, people of color in general, who were so excited to see me as a brother on screen like that, because they were like, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's inspiring to me day in, day out. Like I said earlier, I'm a father of two. I have a 13-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. My son, to him, I'm just dad, but sometimes he'd like to be able to brag on his father. Yo, my daddy is on these networks. My daddy is in that film. My daughter, to her, I'm just daddy that she wants to play and jump around on, and I'm cool with it. She's seen me on TV, though. Her mother's called me, like, she saw you on TV or she saw you on the internet, was like, there go daddy. And that's what I want to be. That's one of the things I love being able to do. I love to be able to somebody say, hey, I want to be at that point. Like, again, it's a hard road. It's nothing easy about it. I always tell everybody, what seems like what I do is simple, but it's not. It's always making sure I'm on point. I'm on top of what I need to be on top of to do what I need to do and present and be who I need to be. But I want to always make sure people see it and be like, yo, he did that. I can do it. He can host a podcast and make it successful. I can host a podcast and make it successful. He can get on a YouTube channel and make people want to watch and follow him. I want to be able to do and entertain and engage people, make them want to watch and follow me. So, yes, absolutely, I want to be able to be that person. People are like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Another like important aspect of that, I think it is like I think people need different perspectives. Like going back to the point you made about how, like, let's be honest, like people of color, or black or other people that does not look like you, might not directly relate to your experience. But when you're on TV or when you're on these shows or on these podcasts, they get a sense of diversity. Like there's a different perspective out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They see it and it's like, oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible because a lot, like you say, it's not seen. Recently, we've seen where because of the outcry and the outpouring about it, like, yo, it needs to happen. We're seeing it slowly but surely. But then when we see it, we embrace it. We're like, yo, it can happen. It needs to happen more. And people will hear that a lot of times and honestly think, oh, well, you're trying to exclude out other voices. No, it's not trying to exclude anyone. It's including everyone.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Jasmine. Jasmine. We're gonna give you one question because you haven't said anything. So we're going to just give. This is all Jasmine time. Jasmine, please give us any question at all, like that you would like to ask to Mr. J. Washington.
So hey Jay, would you consider yourself like a role model, and like to who specifically?
Wait, you were breaking up, so you need to come close. I barely heard you.
So
You were
sorry.
breaking up when you asked me a question because I was listening intently. So do it again, please.
Of course. Okay. So my question was, do you consider yourself a role model? And if you do, who are you a role model to?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely do. I definitely do. I definitely consider myself a role model, first and foremost, like I always mention to my children, because I have to be the beacon that they see. I have to be able to be the standard of working hard, persevering, never giving up, showing what you can do when you want to achieve your goals. To a lot of other young black youth that come up under me, I have a lot of people who have kids, a lot of friends who have kids, nieces, and nephews who are fans of mine because their parents will mention me all the time. And so I can't fail. I can falter a little because I'm human, but I can't fail because there are so many people wanting me to succeed. And because I succeed, they believe they can succeed. So absolutely, I believe I'm a role model.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I really respect how you have such a heavy emphasis on representation and like
You
the
were breaking
importance
up
of it.
so bad, I barely heard you.
Gosh, I'm so sorry. What about now?
You good now?
All right, awesome. I was just like praising like your sense of like representation and how like you seem to be really connected with like just making sure that society has that representation from different cultures and different voices, and just making sure people know your story and people know like why you're prospering and why you are doing this, and your message is just so clear, and I'd really admire that about you. Like I've never ever heard about you until today, and I'm really glad I came on this show because this is awesome for me.
Thank you so much. Like, that's one of the things, you know what, I've learned. It's been the biggest thing I've learned is that now in the position I'm in, I have a platform and I have a voice. And I always wanted to be able to be somebody who could say something or do something that makes a difference, whether it's in a major way or in a minor way. And a lot of times I get to go on these random Twitter rants or whatever about things that need to be discussed because I'm in a position for people to listen.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
you have the followers. You have the following and everything.
And I'm grateful, and that's the thing. It's an amazing thing to be able to say, listen, I'm not saying when I go on a rant or whatever, I never tell anybody I'm not better than anybody. I just want you to see things for the whole thing for what it is.
Jasmine, I think I was trying to count, but I think that was I think you're up to 20 words. Maybe.
20 words.
Congratulations on your first 20 words of the show. Jay, we want to thank you so very much for coming on the show. We're going to go ahead and throw it to another musical break, and then we're going to come back. It's going to be just us. I want to thank Mr. Jay Washington for coming on. Jay, where can the people find you online?
First and foremost, thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure. Anytime you guys want me to come on, just hit me back up. If I got the time, I will definitely be here. I'm saying this on the air right now, so it's not me sounding fake or phony. If you want me back, I'll be back. Trust me. As I tell everybody, please find me on Twitter, find me on Instagram, Facebook. Everything you can find, just go to Mr. J. Washington. That's MrJaywashington. Check out jaywashington.com. Make sure you check out the Trusty Sidekick podcast on iTunes. We just did a special Swapcast episode with my buddy Tom Tran of the Sex, Jokes, and Rock and Roll podcast where we covered our preview of the Arrowverse. So we talked everything Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and then we have episode 70 of the trusty sidekick dropping within a couple of days. So that's really everywhere you can find me. Oh, yeah. Also on the Schmodown, and if you have not done so, please go to iTunes. If you have Apple, go to your Apple App Store and download the Movie Trivia Schmodown app. You can find yourself playing against me in many rounds and potentially losing.
Jay's a great competitor. He's a great entertainer all around. Once again, we appreciate you for coming on. We're going to go into some Drake right now with Feel No Ways, followed by Kendrick Lamar with Mad City, and then we'll be back talking some more news. So keep your ears wide open. You are listening to Sound and Color on Bearcast Media.